Welcome to our monthly meetup. My name is Bobby Jones. I am the host, and we're just going to be talking some multifamily here. So Oscar and I we're just getting to know each other a little bit, and he lives in the Chattanooga area, so not super far from where I am in Winston-Salem. But yeah, so wanting to get into multifamily. So tell me about your experience with residential, Oscar.
Me personally, I've done several BRRRR properties. It's an acronym used from
Yeah.
Bigger Pockets. Traditionally just buy them in cash, rehab them, rent them out, and then refinance. I've done pretty extensive rehabs. I mean, most expensive one to date was about 120,000. Was a pretty large one.
Yeah.
Burnt down duplex, completely burnt to the ground. It was an interesting experience, stressful, but very profitable as well.
Yeah. Wow, that's totally different. We had our neighbors just two houses down whose house burned up, and they were not able to salvage it. So that's impressive that you guys were able to go in and do that.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, man. So do you so you've been burring properties, but have you been holding any yourself, or?
Yes. Yeah. So every bird property that I have, I do keep and manage myself. So I currently have 8 residential multifamily units in the Metro Chattanooga area.
Okay, cool, man. Yeah, I've heard that's a good market. I know several multifamily investors that are like in the Tennessee markets. So, yeah, man, that's awesome. So are you looking to kind of keep in the Chattanooga area, or are you looking to kind of start investing in other places as well with your team?
Ideally, I'd like to stay near the Chattanooga area just so I can closely, monitor an asset, especially in the larger space of apartments. But if needed, I mean, we can definitely venture out to more profitable or easily more to attain areas.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, cool, man. So, how have you been going about like bringing your team together, and what is it that you're good at that your team members, have other strengths and stuff like that?
I mean, me personally, being an engineer, having a background in engineering, I'm a data guy, so very detailed with my financial analysis. So I would essentially just compile all the data, put it in a presentation, and then just bring on partners, whether they're equity partners or private money partners, and would go knock deals out. So that they would, rely on my analyses to kind of move forward on that.
Gotcha. Okay. What size properties are you looking at now to get into? Are you looking at just smaller multifamily?
Um, at the moment, I mean, any small multifamily would be good, but in regards to the apartment, like building space, we're pretty much getting rid or searching actively for a property like up to $2 million.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's not bad at all. So, especially when you're looking in the Southeast, you can find things for that are pretty good in the price range. You're not shopping in some of the higher priced markets, so that can certainly be helpful. But yeah, so have you guys put any off or any LOIs out there yet, or?
Not just yet. No.
Okay.
Want to make sure to pull the trigger on the correct properties. I mean, you've done several analyses on various properties, but as far as offers, not just yet.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess you guys in Chattanooga, you're seeing the same rent price, increases that the rest of the country's seeing, because that's a pretty strong market. So.
Yeah, it's been ridiculous. I mean, several of my rentals have gone up, minimum 20%. My highest one was closer to 50% increase in rent.
Wow. That is amazing. So I don't think you mentioned, but what kind of neighborhoods are your current properties in? Are they in like B and C class neighborhoods?
Yeah, definitely B and C. That's where the larger pool renters are. I've tried A-class rentals. They're a lot harder to fill generally, and a lot more expensive to maintain. So B and
Yeah.
C tend to be the sweet spot here.
That's interesting because the well, when it comes to apartments right now, A class is getting a lot of attention just because, you know, that is where you can continue to have some of the rent hikes that you're seeing in some of these metro areas, because the B and C class sometimes they're, you know, they're starting to get a little bit priced out of certain markets. And so that's interesting that you've actually experienced some difficulty with getting the A classes filled. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I've haven't dabbled too much in the A class. I had one property that was just in the, top of the end market, top of the end neighborhood, and I mean, it was just higher rent price point, so it took forever to fill. And the tenants that we did get were, they were just extremely hard to fill.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So after a couple of tries, the turnovers, I'm like, oh man, I got to stick to these B and C properties because they're just a lot easier to manage.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And there are plenty of markets where, B and C stuff, it's still making a lot of sense too. There's still meat on the bone, and there are still some mom and pop operators out there. I've kind of heard, there's a sweet spot in multifamily where you can get, between the 20 and 50 units where, you're not worried about all the institutional money coming in and scooping those up. But, and they're just not big enough for those institutional investors. But you can still put together a decent portfolio, with a few of those properties. So cool, man. So how long have you been doing the residential properties thing, doing the BRRRR method with that?
Working full time and doing that. So the actual investing side, I'd say about 6 years now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's tough doing both.
Yeah, it's definitely stressful. I have 3 children myself, married, and have 3 children, so
yeah,
it's a lot to manage.
yeah. No, I know what you mean. I've got 3 children, and I've been fortunate that when I started getting into this, I actually walked away from my career because of the passive income coming from these investments. But I took a pretty drastic route to do that. Kind of cashing out my retirement accounts and putting those into multifamily because I believed in it. And so, here I am. And, I don't make what I used to, but it's worked out pretty well for me. So.
Perfect. So prior to your, I guess, initial investment in commercial real estate, did you have any experience in real estate in general prior to that?
So it was kind of varied. When I was growing up, my parents had a few rental properties, like a condo and a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, single family home, and so they did have a few rentals. And my experience with that, I mean, my dad is a pretty handy guy, and so we'd come down. All the properties were in Florida, and so we would go down. And, when there was turnover with the unit, and we go down and we'd be ripping up carpets and painting walls and stuff like that. So that was my experience. And I did not enjoy that part. I did not get any pleasure out of that whatsoever. So welcome, Courtney.
Oh, hi.
So we're just talking Oscar, and he's had some experience with some residential properties doing the BRRRR method and stuff. And he was asking me about my real estate experience. So just going into that a little bit. But yeah, so basically I learned about that kind of stuff, and realized that wasn't really what I wanted to do. And then after that, what I did was I decided, well, I'm going to just invest through REITs in the stock market. I can get exposure to real estate and go that route. What's up, Kevin? Good to see you, man.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Just giving a little background on my my real estate story. So I don't even know if you've heard some of this stuff.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Only a little bit.
But yeah, so I started investing in REITs with my my investment portfolio, and of course, when I did that, it was like 2006, 2007, and
Oh,
then,
wow.
yeah, right before the crash. And so that kind of, I got gun shy with real estate for a while after that. But I started, a few years ago, I was working 1099, and I had a lot of, days where I wasn't working. And so I started listening to podcasts because I was interested in just discovering what else was out there for, creating income. And of course I got into Bigger Pockets and all that kind of stuff. And so, from there I had heard Michael Blanc as a guest on the podcast. So I started listening to Michael Blanc's podcast, which is all about multifamily. And so anyway, at the time, it was the summer, like exactly 3 years ago, and my wife and I decided, well, we want to, we wanted to get a turnkey property. We thought, well, we'll get a turnkey property and try that out. And we went through that process, and that was a pain, going through the banks and everything else, and valuable lessons that I learned that cost quite a bit, because turnkey did not mean turnkey in this instance. And, there wasn't already a tenant in place. That was, strike one. But it's a great area. You're going to get a tenant in there, and we got the property management company that's going to do it. And, property management company ended up actually folding about 8 months later, and I still didn't have a tenant.
Oh, Jesus.
I still didn't have a resident. It took, I changed, and so it was actually vacant for a year, and had the HVAC system, stolen. And of course I couldn't get insurance to cover it because there were no residents. And so the renter's insurance wouldn't cover it, or the homeowner's insurance wouldn't cover it. So I had to pay that out of pocket. So yeah, but at the same time that we bought this single family home, we also decided to make the bigger investment into a multifamily deal. And so I did that, and that started paying me by Christmas. Like I was getting the mailbox money by Christmas. And so once that happened, it was like, oh, this is the way to do it. I like this.
Awesome.
So yeah, I mean, that's, and so basically I did that and created enough income that, compensated enough to pay the bills and everything else. So, and I was able to kind of become a stay-at-home dad at that point, because my daughter was in between preschools and we needed somebody home. So, hey, I can do that now. And so, yeah, I mean, I never did go back. And so, yeah, that's kind of the story. And I figured, gosh, this is great. I really like this. And nobody's talking about it at all in, the healthcare space. Like, this is an option. Everybody's just like, okay, put your money into your 401k, into the stock market, and in 30 years you can retire, hopefully comfortably, and hopefully you won't run out of money, and that was the way that I was taught to approach things. And so this was completely new. And I said, well, people got to know more about this, and so that's when I started my company and, started meetups and a podcast and all that kind of stuff. So.
Great.
But yeah, and what's cool is, like, just 2 years later, my first two deals came full cycle, and I was able to 1031 them into new properties, and that increased our cash flow by $1,000 a month. So it's pretty cool. I've enjoyed it so far.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and I've, what I do now is I am a GP on a few deals, now, and so I'm learning some of those ropes a little bit on how to be more on the management side. And so that's been a good learning experience for me, and, a good experience for my investors as well.
Perfect.
So now, Oscar, how are you planning to kind of finance some of these deals that you're talking about? And Kevin can jump in here at any time too, because Kevin's got some good experience too. But
great. Yeah, the way I ideally see myself getting into it is once we not acquire, but source a good apartment deal, the numbers make sense. I mean, I have several, I guess, local mentors where they would act essentially as the sponsor on the deal. To my understanding, and I'm still very new on the financing side of commercial, but you need a sponsor to act on behalf of the apartment purchase. Is that right?
You know what, I think kind of where you're going, like you want to be kind of the deal guy. A lot of people, what they do is they bring together a team, you know, and that's the sponsor, you know, they're called the sponsors. And so, you know, they may have the guy who goes and finds the deal that's part of the team. They'll have the people who are more on the operations side. They'll have people that are, you know, investor relations, and there's all kinds of different components to it. But creating that team that comes together, and you're part of that sponsorship team, you know, as the person who gets the deal. But that's kind of how it goes. And then you have to find investors to invest in the deal. So obviously you have to work with the banks and stuff, and one of your team members will do that. But that, you know, you have to get enough funding to you know, be able to secure the loan.
Yeah, so I think probably what Oscar was referring to was a key to bring the balance sheet and liquidity side of things in order to get a loan. So
yeah, and that may be what that's probably what you were referring to there, where you have somebody who's got a higher net worth, and they help you to secure the loan to purchase the property. Is that what you were kind of referring to?
Yeah, possibly. I've only heard terminology from other webinars as well. So sponsor essentially, brings in their experience. To my understanding, a commercial lender is not going to lend to somebody with zero experience, even though if they have the cash balance for it. Zero experience, they wouldn't do the loan, to my understanding.
Yeah, that's true. But and all it takes is one deal, and now all of a sudden you've got experience, and they're fine with continuing with you, but you have to get through that first one. So, what's up, Angel? Good to see you.
Hi, I'm like, hello. I'm like, I'm muted.
That's okay. So cool. So, well, what's new with you guys, Kevin and Angel? I haven't seen y'all in a while. I haven't been in meetups much lately.
I'm still working on my deal. Yeah, we have a possible guy who's bringing the balance that's remaining to be raised.
Okay.
Yeah, he came on the webinar Saturday, and then I spoke to him yesterday, and he said, yep. Well, first he said he's just bringing $1 million on Saturday, and then yesterday when I spoke to him, he said, yeah, he more than likely will bring the full amount. So I'm like, great.
Awesome, man. That's really cool.
Cool.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it's only when it happens I'll believe it. So.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, talk is cheap, right?
Definitely.
So cool. Angel, what's up with you?
We're looking at a property here. We put an LOI on 10-5, and then I got an email from a friend of mine that was like, hey, that property's back in the market. And I was like, what? And so I texted the broker, and I'm like, I hear the property's back in the market. Is our LOI still good? And he's like, well, they're really hoping to get 11.5. You know, it's got to be closer to 11. And I'm like, whatever. Yeah. I almost want to put in an LOI for lower.
Yeah.
You should.
That's what I think.
You should.
But we were just at a meetup, and Gino was over there. He's like, oh, don't put one in for lower. Like, you might have made the broker look bad. And I'm like, the broker wouldn't have taken it if it was going to make him look bad. And maybe he didn't take it.
Yeah.
But I think we were the highest offer at 10.5. So
really?
I really want to, I want to go back and do 9.8, which makes it 85 a door.
Hey.
If you want to mess with me, I'm going to mess right back.
Yeah. I don't see why that wouldn't work, you know.
When I know who the seller is. He doesn't have his name on anything, but beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's Kenny Wolf.
Okay.
Because he names all his product Maverick, and it's Maverick at Seymour. And the other property he has in town is Maverick at Maureen.
What were you saying, Kevin?
He's trying to leave and I won't shut up.
You should put in two offers. One at 9.8 and then probably another one with some crazy tunes.
That's if they do sell or carry back.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I thought you were trying to peace out. I was like, he's trying to leave and I won't shut up.
It's like, deuces.
Mm.
I'm out of here.
You're saying give two offers. Yeah, no, I don't know. But I
Yeah.
asked the broker, I was like, will he consider, will they consider a seller carryback? And then I told Julianne Peterson the same thing, which won't make her happy because then she won't get the same commission. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
I'm so frustrated right now because you're gonna put it back on the market and not even let me know. Really, Rowan? Youngest son that got the company named after you?
Mm. Well, that's
He
the
said
way
there's
it
a whole
goes.
story behind it, but he wouldn't tell it to me. But the other broker graduated from Baylor in 2016, and Rowan's older brother, not his older brother, but his older brother graduated from Baylor too.
Okay. Okay.
But all the brothers went to different schools. It's weird.
How
Huh.
far away is this one from you?
3.1 miles.
Ah, right.
You keep finding stuff that's like right down the street.
I know.
Well, that's what Oscar's wanting to do. He lives in Chattanooga. And
Oh, Tennessee.
yeah. And Courtney, I don't believe you've said a whole lot. Feel free to unmute yourself and unless you just want to, be muted and just listen, but feel free
No,
to jump
that's
in.
okay. I don't understand real estate, mostly commercial real estate, because I keep trying to convince people to lease me parking lot space in the commercial sphere for
Mhm.
my ice and water business, and nobody will touch it with a 10-foot pole. And I can't seem to understand why people love this useless parking space. I just can't understand it. So I want to understand real estate more to understand why I can't get brokers to give me the time of day.
Yeah.
Because you haven't done a deal.
Yeah. That's
It's
Basically.
chicken and the egg. It is the stupidest damn thing.
Well, so hold on, if I can figure this out. So it's not really about doing it. I own 2 commercial spaces myself where my ice house resides.
Mhm.
I don't know why I can't. So I own space myself.
Mhm.
So I own a small property. It was a 5,000 square foot lot that I turned into a parking space and then put my ice and water vending machine on. But whenever I talk to commercial brokers, they just don't. I don't know. I can't. So I either have to find some smaller people or buy the land myself, and the land's not affordable for really what I want to do with it.
Are you talking to triple net guys or parking lot people?
Anyone, and I have to find the owner that owns that spot. And you've got to go
Okay,
through all
so-
these brokers.
No. Do you know Sam Wilson?
No, I live in Colorado.
Okay, Sam Wilson, all he did was parking lots. It's a very tight knit community. There's 3 or 4 families that own basically all the parking lots.
But in the nation,
Yeah.
I had an ex-boyfriend.
I
at
did
one
not
time
know
whose
that.
whose family owned a lot in New York.
But
But
Sam
ours are like
Wilson would tell you he would know who to talk to. He's in multifamily.
Don.
But he'd be able to tell you who to talk to.
I don't
And
know
then
who he is.
Aubrey
We're a
Grimsley.
small town.
Yeah.
We're a really small town. I'm only a town of 750,000 people. It's not a
That's
big
not
town.
a small town. My town is 105,000. The
Well,
town I
my
grew
oth-
up in is 14,792.
Well, my
I grew
other
up in a
town
town
is
of 6,000.
But to me, coming from Chicago, Colorado Springs is a small town.
Oh, Colorado
Um,
Springs is not small.
When you're from Chicago, Colorado Springs is small.
Okay.
When you're from Chicago, everything's small.
I'm just
I
saying.
mean,
it's a
just
small
about.
town.
But
So,
let's
I'm just saying.
see.
I'm trying to understand because I find the commercial brokers to be a bunch of fucking assholes, and I'm
No,
trying
probably-
to
So that's why I was like, maybe if you talk to triple net people, they would understand that what you're doing is placing a business and you're not just trying to use up the space or destroy the parking lot. Maybe because somebody
Well,
just a commercial breaker may not understand the business side of it.
So you know those twice the ice vending machines?
Oh,
in
I
the
know exactly
nation?
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They're like
the
round,
problem
right?
Yeah, they're like square. They're a 9 by 24 box. They only take up like 300 square feet. They don't take up very much. The problem is out west, they're a new concept. Nobody has seen these before. It's like a UFO landing. Like people are like, what is
Mhm.
this?
We have
You
3 in
need-
this town.
Oh, I know. There's 3,500 in the nation. So I could post pictures, but the one I did in Colorado Springs is absolutely fucking stunning. There's a whole building around it. It's stunning.
Wow.
People love it. We only opened like 8 weeks ago. So we're like building our business up. And business is going to be booming for us. Like you raise your sales like 20, 30% every month. So we're doing great.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the business. People are like, when are you going to put one on this side of town or this side of town? I can't find the land. That's where I struggle. So anyhow, that's why I'm curious
Yeah.
about real estate because I don't
So-
understand how to play the game with these people.
So, okay, so how about partnering up with already existing places like gas stations or grocery
They don't-
supermarkets?
They don't want you. They don't want you. You're their competition.
Hmm.
Because they're trying to sell their own ice.
What
They're
about
trying to
talking
sell their own
to
ice.
what about talking to land brokers?
I would talk to anyone. I
Um,
tried.
Try
You can talk to
Jonathan
this-
Jonathan Havelis. He's just a
You
land
can-
guy. That's all he does is land. He
Yeah,
buys-
you could talk to this guy too, that name, it's
That's why
Don Stafford, I think. You could talk to him.
Oh, oh,
Actually, that would be an amazing. So Don does RV parks. That would be
Exactly,
an amazing
and development.
combination.
What's his name? Don.
He's right here in the meeting.
You're looking at
Yeah,
it.
right next to you.
The big bright blue screen there.
Well, I would do RV parks, but the problem is other people have to come to them.
Other people have to
for-
come what?
First of all,
Other people like have to have
I came in late in the conversation, so I'm not even quite sure what we're all talking about. But
Okay, she has those
Um,
buildings that have like the water and the ice.
those twice the ice vending machines. I have
Yeah.
two in Colorado. I have two in Colorado. One in a really small town and one in Colorado Springs. And we're trying to expand in Colorado Springs, but I cannot get the commercial space to do so.
how much space do you need? I mean, it sounds like it's a vending machine type thing. I'm not even familiar with it. I've never seen one, so I don't know quite what it
300
is.
square feet. 500 maybe with one parking space or some bollards around it. But 300 to 500 square feet, you don't need very much space. So I've been trying to find it in the commercial sphere, kind of like rundown strip malls that have all this parking space that isn't used.
Mhm.
And I don't know, people like hold on to it like, it's their last inheritance or something. Like, oh, I can't. It's the
The
strangest
ones
thing.
we
to
have
me.
here are in the parking lot, like by the Sonic, and they literally have like ours are not. They don't have a building around them. They like have a chute in two
Yeah.
different spots, and you put your little ice bag up there for the chute, and then there's like this
Mhm.
window thing that you stick your jug in there for water.
Ours are very similar. I don't know if it's the same brand, but they're very similar. They're only
are like
9 by
called-
24.
Eskimo ice or Jay's ice or something. I don't know what they're
Yeah,
called.
they
We
might
don't-
not be. But I mean ours. So anyhow, I've been curious about commercial real estate because
Mhm. Angel, I was going to ask you: is Sam Wilson a bald guy?
Is he
he
bald
bald?
now?
He's got a beard.
Yeah, he's got a beard, but he doesn't have
Is it-
anything up here. Is what I?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Mostly.
what I'm seeing here.
Kind of like me
Yeah,
and
so
Mark.
he used to
LinkedIn.
Very low
he used
hold.
to be all he did was parking lots. And then at BEC 2020 in Keystone, he was there with his wife in the hall, and she has a laundromat. And he was the parking lot guy. Then 2 years later, he joins Joe's program, and now he's multifamily.
Ah, okay.
And he's partnering with us on a couple campground stuff.
Is he?
Yep.
That's
Well,
cool.
I was just going to tell you, Courtney, I just put his LinkedIn link in the chat
Oh.
for you, so you can reach out to him possibly and find out more
Sure,
information
thank
about
you.
the parking lot stuff.
Aubrey Grimsley knows some about the parking lots
Mm.
too.
Does she?
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't
And
know that.
also, oh gosh, he was on Aaron's meetup, I think. His name was, oh, was it Bill? I'll have to look it up. But he does it for like semi trucks. But he also
Yeah.
said that it's a very small world, very hard to get into.
Yeah.
We've got, in our area, we not, I don't think I've ever seen anything that sells like the ice and water, but we have like, the shaved ice, like the snow cone type things that those are, and like little, I guess, drink places, like, little place you go up and they mix drinks and whatever, like, different flavored drinks, not alcohol, but, like soda pop and stuff.
Yeah.
Those are like, all, in many parking lots here, like even at the gas station, we have one of those snow cone ones, and there's like behind the movie theater parking lot, there's, one of those drink places. And there could be something you could put up in multiple different places in the parking lot, like you're saying, if you can find the right one that would let you lease out that little spot. I don't see why not.
Yeah, it's just very hard. I don't know why people don't believe kiosks drive business, but
Yeah, I mean, there's even some like coffee shops that are basically like that, like scooters and stuff that you have here. They're just in the middle of a parking lot
Right.
somewhere, like at a Target.
That's
Or
what we
something.
have. We have Dutch Brothers and Human Beings that are expanding here in Colorado. The only trouble is they pay like $2,500 a month, and we can't compete with them financially.
Right.
We just don't do the same volume.
Mhm.
So everybody's holding out their parking spot to give it to one of these two companies. But it's kind of like Starbucks. Eventually, they oversaturate the marketplace, which is what they're doing here in Colorado.
Interesting.
Because there's been like, I don't know, like 30 that popped up in the last year. That and car washes in Colorado.
Well,
We're in a drought, but we put in 25 car washes.
that's everywhere. Car washes are going everywhere.
They're the new thing.
Yeah, they're
They are the new thing. Yeah.
it was self-storage for a little while, and now it's the car washes. And
Yeah. I wish I had one. So I just came back from a trip from South America, and pretty much nothing is there is automated. If you want to wash your car, you have to make an appointment at a place where like people physically will wash your car, get in line. So we had a rental car, needed to get it washed before we turn it back in. It's like I couldn't get it washed, I need to make an appointment like the day before. I'm like, oh well, I'll turn it in without being washed, But yeah, I was like, man, I was like, I'd like to put it in a car wash down here and disrupt the industry.
that would be interesting to see how it'd play down there.
Yeah.
So, well, Don, speaking of which, man, what's new with you? I know you've been busy.
Yeah, well, always busy. Nothing new with that. But yeah, like I said, we just got back from a 3-week trip out of the country, and trying to get back into the rhythm of things this week. So, we've got lots of deals we're working on, as always, with Happy Camper Capital. That one we're trying to finish raising on now, and we've got another one coming up. Probably doing another webinar next week on a new one. Bunch more in the pipeline. So
Cool, man.
Yeah, lots of deal flow. So we're trying to find. We're almost to the point now where we've got more deals than we have capital from our own personal investors. So we're trying to branch out and find partners to work with, possibly to help bring additional capital on some deals. So
Yeah.
it's good problem to have, I guess.
Let me know, man.
Yeah. If you got some capital to bring, we definitely find a way to make it work.
Yeah. It's something I think my investors would probably be pretty excited about. So very cool, man. So, and yeah. So what is there to talk about? What do you guys, what's on your minds lately in the multifamily space and in the commercial real estate space? What are you guys seeing where you're at?
Slow down.
Yeah.
Moving way slower.
Now, do you mean just sales or?
Nobody's buying really.
Yeah.
Which is the other reason why it's super funny that the broker's like, if you can't get close to 11, they're just going to refi. And I'm like, nobody's refining right now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They'll probably refi at higher interest than they have it now. So yeah.
It's stupid. He was just talking.
Yeah.
Yep.
You should have said, go ahead. I'll wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pick it
Okay.
up on the foreclosure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the interest rates are affecting everybody for sure. But it does seem to be like it's weeding out some people.
Yeah, it is. But one of the things that I noticed is that demand is still there for
Mhm.
properties in terms of like people looking for houses or looking to rent. So that demand is still there. And like I know Angel talks a lot about stagflation, but I mean, if things go the way it's going, that could be a high possibility, yeah, because demand is there and inflation is there. So
Mhm.
it's gonna be just
Well, we
tough.
were just on a, we were just on
Gonna
a,
be pretty.
we were just, you know, at least Angel and I were, I think, I don't know if Kevin, you were there, but we were just on a meet up with Yona, and they had, you know, Gino on there, and he was talking about valuations. Like, you know, we're right now with, you're getting people start basing the values now on actuals rather than pro formas. Like, you know, we know the last couple of years, everybody's been basing, okay, here's, you know, your actuals may suck, but pro formas look great. So, you know, you're going to value on pro formas, and people are buying this based on the pro formas. And, you know, now, yeah, it's like, you know, you can't quite do it anymore, but yet the sellers are having their mind that these what they've been selling for the last couple of years, almost still selling for that. Like Angel's seller here that wants to get
Mhm.
more than what it's now currently worth. Maybe, yeah, a couple of years ago you could have sold for that, but you know, now it's a different environment. So you got to base on the actuals, and the actuals don't support that value, you know. So
Yeah.
you know, we had an issue with that on a campground a few months ago, or you know, we were the seller wanted more than what it was based on the actuals, and you know, the bank is going to value it based on the actuals, not what the pro forma is going to look like and what they're going to do once they expand. So we were like, well, we can't pay you what you want for it. We can only pay you what the bank's willing to lend on it. So you know, if you don't want to sell it for that, you know, sorry. And then of course, since they backed out of our deal, which we had under contract, I think for I want to say 17 million. They went back and listed on the market right after that for 30 million. So it's like, well, if the banks are going to barely approve it at the price we're paying it for, who's going to be buying at 30 million? That, you know, so
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, and that's my thought too, is like, get an appraisal in there. Somebody's going to be surprised, and I don't think it's going to be me.
Right.
Mhm.
Maybe I will be. And if I am, great, but I don't think I will be.
Yeah. That's interesting though. And I do agree that demand's not going anywhere. I mean, we have, you know, a real shortage, and people can't afford single family homes in a lot of areas because those prices have gone nuts. So they're forced to rent. And so I mean, yeah, the demand's going to be there, but you know, with regard, like I've seen a lot of deals that have come across in, you know, the last several months, and it's like, you know, the numbers just don't look as good as they did a couple of years ago, you know, and that's to be expected in this environment, you know. But I've noticed it's harder to get investors to kind of get excited about these kinds of returns, even though the potential is still there for things to, you know, still go the way they have, where you know, you can sell a property in a lesser amount of time. Once you've stabilized, you know, done your fixing it up and the renovations, and then stabilize it, you can still sell it later on, you know, and still, you know, kind of blow those expectations out of the water possibly. But yeah, I don't know. Are you guys have any problems with getting investors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So number one reason is they're not sure about the economy. They're kind of being cautious. That's the main thing that we're getting with all these.
Yeah.
That's why people are reaching out to me saying, we've got money and we don't want to keep seeing it lose value.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I have had people come to me because, yeah, the stock market sucks, and, you know, and they don't see it getting any better.
Well, I
So,
need to meet those people, don't I?
yeah, Angel, push some of those, you know, more our way.
So one of them is actually our commercial banker's friend. His father sold a property and has money. And he's like, my dad's flush right now, and he doesn't want to keep losing. He doesn't want his money to keep losing value. He wants to put it somewhere where it'll at least be the same.
Nice. Yeah, well, we could take it.
I would say, would he be interested in a
got those
deal
right
in
now.
Minnesota?
And no, he wants to invest right here. Because he's old school. He's like in his 80s.
Oh,
He
yeah.
wants to invest where he
Yeah.
can see it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have
Okay,
some
fine.
for you then.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, when you
So
say
we-
right here, you mean right there in Wichita Falls or just in Texas?
In Wichita Falls.
Oh, that's more
Mm.
complicated.
Yeah.
So we'll
Well,
have something in
you-
Texas coming up soon, but not Wichita Falls.
No, he wants to see, his dad wants to be able to see it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to ask Gino when he was saying that like they would do an office with like 200 units. I wonder if they have like an offsite office that they've rented somewhere that runs the units. And I didn't get to ask him. That was my next question, but I didn't get to ask it. Cause you know how, did you hear him say that where he was
Yeah,
saying, he
yeah.
would do,
Well,
yeah.
I wasn't sure if you're saying that they do now, or you're saying that they could split up their portfolio like that and have
Wait,
know,
you know, he was saying
sell
that
them in chunks of 200.
he was saying basically that an
Okay.
inside manager can handle 200 units.
Right.
And
That's
so
right. Yeah.
then he's saying, you know, if that's a 40, or what did he say? Like a 40 and a 120 or a 40, 60. And so if you're splitting properties like that, which building holds the office? Or are you doing an offsite office?
Sure.
Because one of the
Yeah.
things we're seeing is people here and people in other places too have residential properties. So they have singles, duplexes, residential multis, and people around here, they don't want to manage those. And so my thought was, and so there's a definite need here. We're seeing the same need in Waco. It's like there's a need for that, for someone that's willing to have an office somewhere centralized and manage those residential properties that people have that are, you know, 25 to 150 units.
Mhm.
And do it for something other than 10% standard. That's insane.
Mhm. Yeah.
So there's a need for that. And there's also a need for pool companies that specialize in apartments. We don't have that here either. And it's
Really?
sucking real hard.
So what is it that, I mean, what would be different about that? Like, why would they need to specialize?
There's nothing different. It's just that the liability is greater. In a home, it's one family. In a residential. In
Yeah.
a commercial, it's an entire property.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, it seems like there would be folks that would be able to specialize in that and do pretty well. Because I mean, it's not like you can't find a bunch of hotels
Well,
that have a pool or
Correct.
know,
There
or
are
whatever.
people, but getting on their radar and getting them to prioritize you is impossible.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Well, and I guess a lot of the, you know, like the bigger hotels and stuff, they probably have their own maintenance staff that handles all that anyway.
Doesn't matter. You got to pass the health board.
Really?
Has to pass the health department. And I have friends at the freaking health department. One of the people I used to teach with, she was like, F teaching. And she left and became a health inspector because we all had the same principal. That horrible, horrible lady. She got removed, by the way. They kept her in the freaking district though. After she told a kid she effing hated him.
Oh,
And sister called it on the phone with mama on FaceTime. Mama came in, went through all her kids, and she still has a job.
mm,
I'm blown away. But regardless of all that,
yeah, yeah.
so there's, I mean, you would think that there would be somebody like the one place here in town that we know of. There's two different places, and we can't get on maintenance schedules with either one. And then, so my friend that left, she can't pass you, but she can do the inspection. And so we were calling her, and she was like, I haven't been trained yet. I can come look at it, but I can't pass the inspection. So we're like, great. And so we finally got the booster pump today. Somebody installed it this afternoon,
Mhm.
and they're going to send test water somewhere. They're taking it somewhere in town to have the
Yeah.
water tested and sent the results sent to the health department, because the health department's lab results aren't going to come back until next week.
Yeah.
And we're like, we need a pool for 4th of July weekend.
That's so interesting though, because I mean, like I'm anybody that has a pool knows that like your pool water can change like that. So
Evidently,
why?
the health department doesn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just so weird.
I actually asked in the PMC meeting, I was like, so what's the fine if we open even though they've told us not to?
Hmm.
And the property manager was like, oh no, they're not opening it because of health. I'm like, no, they're not opening it because we haven't fit the parameters yet.
Hmm.
It has nothing to do with health. It has to do with their little check boxes. So
Yeah.
what's the fine? Well, I don't know what the fine would
And
be.
how do they know, or when would they come to inspect? Like, could you just open it up on that weekend and then close it back down after? And they wouldn't know any different?
Evidently, the main health inspector actually lives in Iowa Park where the apartments are. And there's only like, I don't know, there's a couple thousand people that actually live in Iowa Park. So the probability of her seeing it is probably pretty high.
Yeah, that's not helpful.
I was willing to take the risk. Our regional was not.
Invite her over. Say, hey, come hang out at the pool, and and she
Yeah.
gets to enjoy it and not find you.
You mind trying out the water for us first?
Make her
I
feel
mean,
part,
I
make her feel
got
part of
some
the,
pH
feel part of
burns
the
in my
party,
brain.
and she's like, yeah, I can see
I
it.
got pH burns
Mhm.
in my grandparents' apartment or my grandparents' pool. It's not the end of the world. Your skin heals.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
We've
I've
had
been
to deal
in.
with health inspectors, so I feel for you.
That's funny.
Well, I had
Our-
to shave
our
my
bi-
stand and I had to have a food handler's permit.
Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't
my
handle
husband
food.
got one of those.
Yeah, you have to have them for ice. It's
Yeah,
weird.
because the FDA considers it ice. So
Hmm.
we had to have, there's two sizes of these ice machines. We switched from a medium to a large, basically. And we asked our county health inspector. She had to come see the one when we had the medium one installed. And we said, well, we're swapping it out. Do you have to come see the large? She's like, no. Now that's so stupid. It's a whole new building. Like, why would you not have to? But we just accepted that as the answer and, moved on. But we had to have our state inspector come, and I couldn't sell ice and water because the state inspector hadn't certified the electrical of the machine yet. So it was a whole to do. We've had to deal with the inspectors too.
No, and it's all just check boxes. It doesn't
Yeah.
actually have to do with safety or health or anything else. It's check boxes.
We test our water quarterly, like, to be a,
We have to
Decent
put
business.
we test the pool chemicals weekly. You have to change
Yeah,
your
you have to
chemicals,
if you have a
Yeah,
pool.
you have
or you'll
right?
have a green pool. You don't have a choice, but
Yeah.
stupid.
it's so somebody can have a job
Yeah.
that doesn't pay the bills.
I wonder what the chlorine content is for those kinds of pools versus what we keep our our backyard pool at. Because
You
I
want to
mean,
know what was even
it always
better?
seems like it's higher.
Yeah, no, they said the minerals in the town's water were too high.
It's
Okay,
funny.
so you
How do
gotta
we control that?
import some water now.
It's just stupid.
Yep.
I want to know how the city pool that's also using the city water was able to pass.
Well, I'm
Because
sure
clearly
with
we
your
need their
charming
inspector.
personality, you could go over there and ask them.
Or could you do that?
I'm real charming right now with this thing. Okay, I am so just over it.
Is it the same or similar regulation if you have like a saltwater pool instead of chlorine?
So to switch over to saltwater is
Yeah, that's-
actually a big deal. You don't just because it switches to saltwater, but the saltwater, there's like the metal thing changes, it splits the NaCl so that you get the chlorine. It's still a chlorine pool.
Oh yeah, it's just a little salty.
And you can't just add salt because you have to retrofit
yeah.
everything because it'll eat it all. And I have no clue what that would be, but we just paid $1,500 for a booster pump to get it up to where it would do 105-gallon turnover for every whatever time horizon it is.
We just use the beach.
I wish we had a beach because it's super frustrating.
Yeah.
We even tried renting a slide, like to put one of those big water slides by
Mhm.
the pool, just in case the pool couldn't open. So the commercial places that rent those won't rent them to an apartment complex because of the liability.
Mhm.
So they're commercial products to be used in a commercial setting, and they won't rent them to us. They rent them to schools, but not to the apartment complex.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yep.
Wow.
Although I don't see what if you guys, of course, would sign a liability waiver, and the apartment building would be the ones that are going to be sued, not the slide people. So I mean, I don't see what the
Well,
problem is.
that would be my thought.
You would think that's the logical pattern, but logic just seems to just evaporate with the heat. It's 110 degrees. Let's just evaporate the logic too.
Yeah. Man.
It's insane.
Yeah. Oh, well, you know, do what you got to do. Jump through those hoops.
Is this at the Thousand Mary or is this something else?
It's Thousand Mary.
Yeah. How's the rest of that going?
It's all right.
Yeah.
Expenses are insane because everything's going up price wise. So
Like, what's the ratio right now?
62%.
Uh,
So
what-
NOI is down.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're still, I mean, we're still paying investors, but it's, I don't know. Something's
much
got to
longer?
give.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
probably do a year and then something has to change.
And how old is this property again?
1980s.
Okay.
Okay, 62%.
What kind of renovations are you guys doing?
We're adding covered parking.
Okay.
And then we did some like landscaping because in February, a bunch of trees died when we lost power for like 5 days. Because it was like we were at -8 or something.
Oh, that's
and-
right. That's right.
Yeah. And it
I
killed
was
a whole
like,
bunch
why
of
would trees die without electricity? I'm not,
no,
something's
it
not
was-
computing here.
It's because it was so cold. We had to cut
Yeah, yeah.
down, like it was $40,000. It was 18 fully mature trees, and then they had to, you know, grind the roots out, mulch them. Because if we hadn't mulched them, it would have been even more to haul them off.
Mhm.
And then we redid the grounds and all those things. But that was 40,000.
Wow.
But we were expecting that
Wow.
one. The other stuff we haven't been expecting. Like we didn't have to approve overtime. And so payroll costs were pretty crazy for a little bit there.
Mm.
It was like, wait a second, we pay the payroll, but we don't approve the overtime. That's not going to work.
Mhm, mhm.
So but it was conversations that we didn't know that we were supposed to have had. And I guess people are people and they're
Mhm.
going to, people are going to take advantage of what they can. And I don't think that that's like, I don't mean like ethically, they're going to try and take everything you don't remember to tell them not to take. And I don't mean like that. I just mean that they thought they were helping the complex by working extra hours, but they were charging us for it.
Yeah.
And we never approved that because we didn't need them trying to get the sand out of the pool. We needed them to fix the reason why there was so much blowback,
Yeah. Yeah.
not spending endless hours getting sand out of the pool because that was being blown into it from the pump.
Yeah.
No, we need
So
to fix
are
the
you-
pump.
So are you changing anything with the interior units of the units?
As they turn, we're doing some, but really there wasn't that many left. There was like 5 left that hadn't been upgraded.
Okay. So you're not really able to push rents any higher until the lease renewals.
Yeah, they're bumping at renewals.
Okay. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
And no other added other income like laundry or anything like that.
So it already has a laundry, it has a laundry contract. So we're
Yeah.
looking at adding vending machines in there.
Yeah, like
Um,
the ice thing.
So that well, like laundry detergent, the
Yeah.
softeners, bleach, so that they don't have to worry about having all that in their apartment. And we're not to make a whole bunch of money off it, just to make it convenient. We'd make a little bit of money on it, but it'd be more for a convenience factor to just
Yeah.
help with some of the retention. And then also adding a vending machine for sodas, not necessarily candy and stuff because this is Texas and all that stuff melts. But for sodas, I absolutely think so.
What about
And
the covered parking? Is that gonna generate anything for you guys?
Oh yeah, the covered parking should pull in about, I think we're saying 40 to 45 a month.
Okay.
Because we get those huge hailstorms here, like
Yeah.
baseball size hail, and that's sometimes it's bigger than that because like we're right next to Oklahoma, so
Mhm.
we get massive hail.
Yeah.
But we've been trying to do that for 4 months and haven't been able to even get anybody to come out and give an estimate.
I wonder how many deaths by hail happen per year in those areas of the country.
Deaths by hail?
Yeah, like the baseball size hail comes falling out of the sky and hits you in the head. Doesn't that?
Yeah.
Doesn't that kill you?
So
No.
we've driven through it. Sometimes it'll pop your windshield out. Sometimes it won't.
Yeah.
But like, the little ones hurt worse. Those
Those
are like
sting. I
little
mean,
bullets, like little needles popping.
I don't know.
all over.
I've never been in an area that had hail that big. I think about it and I'm like, something that big falling from the sky. Like,
Right.
Well, there's people that it goes through it'll go through the roof
yeah.
Exactly.
all the way
If
through.
That, you're like, we'll just smash your head in then.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I don't know. Just
Yeah, no,
just random thought
People-
to close
so
this thing
people
out.
here-
You know, I mean,
You get a new
That's why you don't
roof.
go outside when it's happening.
Yeah, no, you get a new roof here every 4 to 5 years max.
oh wow.
Every year you have dent repair on your car. Every year.
Gee.
Yeah, that's like Colorado has hail.
Yeah.
It's pretty much like that in Omaha too. But
And the car insurance rates are ridiculous because of it, and the insurance rates.
Hmm.
Like our insurance rates are now ridiculous because of the wildfires.
Oh yeah.
Because Boulder let themselves burn and build homes too close together.
Mm.
So the whole reason why that whole Marshall fire happened was because the homes were were close together. And so now our insurance rates like went through the roof.
Like those 0 lots, and you would think they're apartments, but they're not. They're just like next door. Like,
Yeah, that's what they said is one home caught fire and it was so close to the next one that the heat really just caught the next one because there was no distance between the homes.
when they're, they don't have to have a firewall. Because like in apartments, you have to have like a fire stop,
Oh,
but you don't have to in the 0 lots because they're technically separated homes. Even if they're
Yes.
connected, they're still considered separated homes.
so the city changed the ordinance in order to build these homes and then was like, oh shit, it all burnt down. And oh shit, all this grazing land of cattle around it, we haven't been letting cattle graze. And oh shit, this is what happened. And now we lost 1,000 homes.
Yeah, I
And
was gonna say
people-
1,084 structures, including houses, a hotel, and at least one shopping center.
It was real
And-
fast.
My
That
gosh.
So that Marshall fire sent the rates, even where I live, through the roof because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the
Man.
people were underinsured for inflation of real estate.
Well, because this is unprecedented. Nobody could have prepared for this. We all knew what was going on. I mean, you keep increasing the money supply by 50% and something's going to happen, which I just read recently that they're looking at doing stimulus payments in some states again,
What the fuck?
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Do we not recognize what this problem what has caused this issue? And now we're going to put more money in.
Well,
I'm hoping
most,
that there was a fluke, like it was a spoof or something, but
I don't think so, unfortunately.
I know, right?
Most of the ICE owners have struggled with increasing prices, but most have gone up 50 cents, and I think we'll be up by $1 next summer.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So when I bought this machine 2 years ago, our opening prices were going to be like $1.50 and $2.50, and now we're $2 and $3, and I think we'll be up over that by next year.
Mm.
If it's like the ones here, I wouldn't be surprised to see them at $5.
So we do a little bit of delivery business,
Mhm.
and my husband bags it and hauls it, and we didn't know what to ask. And so far we asked $5, and we're going to almost double $6 a bag for a 20-pound bag of ice to deliver. And people have been paying it, no questions asked, because they can't get the product.
Oh my gosh.
So we delivered, there's a defense contractor at Fort Carson that was having some kind of Spartan outdoor race. Spartan was
Mhm.
the name of the defense contractor. And they asked us for 5,000 pounds of ice. At first, 4,000 pounds, but then it turned to be like 90 degrees that weekend, and they were freaking out that they were going to have people passed out and dying.
Yeah.
So like the defense contractor would look really bad if they put on this like family friendly event and then couldn't get ice, right? And I told Jeff, I'm like, oh my God, it's defense contractor. They're in like the deepest pockets known to man, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't care.
Mhm.
They rented a trailer out of Texas. They couldn't even get a refrigerated trailer here in Colorado. They rented one out of Texas, drove it up to Colorado, we delivered them, and Jeff's retired Army, so he could just get on base easy. And he did like, we can only deliver like 80 bags at a time. But like 1,000 pounds. But we did it one night. We bagged and delivered it. And, for us at a small business, one night of work was like $2,500. It was good extra money for us. Not a lot, but and then I was like, oh, it's a defense contract. I was like, charge them double on delivery. They don't care. And we did, and they paid it. They just didn't care.
Yeah. Oh man.
I was like, ooh, when's their next event? I was like, but the big companies like Ready Ice will not deliver because of fuel prices.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was wondering too.
See, we were Ready Ice's biggest customer as Shave Ice. We were our Shave Ice business. We were Ready Ice's biggest customer in all of Central Texas. And so they would deliver to us. We'd get deliveries twice a week. And like we had to have special ice. So we would go in and cut our own ice with specialized saws with food grade oils, like chainsaws. And we would cut our own squares. And they would let us do that because we were their biggest customer. And then they would let us use all of their refrigerators, the double doors. We could have as many of those as we wanted. We had them at our house. We had them at the business. We had them on the backs of trailers because we would transport our own if we needed to, or we transport the trailer and then they'd come deliver ice to wherever we were setting up. So that's so this defense contractor called Ready Ice in Colorado Springs, and they said no. I said they said no to them, and they were like, yeah. So Ready Ice, I've heard in Texas, they're not filling a lot of their bunkers because they won't deliver to certain places because of diesel prices. Wow.
So they're shutting down their delivery radius.
Wow.
Anyhow, so it's hitting every industry is the point.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it is.
It's touching every industry in some way, shape, or form.
So what's the turnover on the ice? Like how fast do your machines freeze it?
So they have the machines, it depends on the size ice maker you have on. They have a 2-tube, which will make like 2,500 pounds every 24 hours. They have a 4-tube, which makes like 4,000. And in the city of Colorado Springs, I put in the largest ice maker, which is 6 tubes. So I make about 5,500 pounds every 24 hours.
Wow.
So that's a lot of ice when you're selling it at 20 pounds. So what we did is we have a 10-pound bag at $2. I do a 3-pound bag at $3, but there's a bulk chute. So if people want to put their coolers under the bin and vend without a bag, because petroleum is driving the cost of bags up. When we first got into this, a bag might have cost, less than 18 cents.
Yeah. And
now it's the resin is sending the cost of plastic bags up. So I offer people a 50-cent price break. So it's $2.50 for 20 pounds of ice vended direct to their cooler. Because then it saves me on bags and I don't have to buy more bags. And I've noticed in the city alone, about 50% of my bags, people are willing to haul their own shit just to save them 50 cents. And that's enough of a price pay. Like 25 cents, I felt like might not be enough to move people, but 50 cents was enough to move people to be like, yep, I'll just take it out of my car and drag it or haul it.
Or you could have increased price 25 cents and then gave the 50-cent discount. And they probably would have felt the same way.
Well, right. So, I mean, this at least saves me on my purchasing of my bags because, God willing, maybe in 2 years or so, if we had petroleum prices come down, then the cost of my bags come down. So then, but people are willing, we found. But nowadays, you're looking at a 10-pound bag. Most places are about $2.20 at most convenience stores. And Ready Ice did shrinkflation. So they're only selling a 7-pound bag and a 16-pound bag now. So they dropped it from 10 to 20 pounds.
Wow.
So they participated in a little bit of that, which then drives these machines. Most owners have kept their poundage at 20 pounds. So people want the product. Businesses just want the product. So they're willing to do anything for the product alone.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of breweries that can't cool their kegs. We've had a few marijuana industries, which I want to tap more into that. I got to get deep into that.
Mhm.
because they use ice to make some kind of hash.
I think they
I don't
need it
know
for the
anything about that.
I would think they would need it on the recirc on their hydroponics because if it gets too
They
hot, it's
usually
going
have
to kill
their
the
own.
roots.
Yeah, they usually have their own RO systems and pretty advanced for that.
Yeah.
But they make this kind of like bubble hash, which people make on their own.
Mhm.
But you have to need really pure ice, and we have RO ice.
Wow.
You need really pure ice to have a good product. So, there's me walking around to all these shops being like, hey, I don't really know your industry, but I know you sometimes use ice.
That is
I
wild.
don't know that-
Makings of a new episode of Breaking Bad here with ice.
That's what it's. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
the
is it
purest, I got
blue?
the purest ice around, man.
Well,
It's 96% pure.
Seriously, people test it and shit. Like, people are really serious about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
RV parks, though, the nice thing, which we've thought about, they make the company makes a smaller kind of express model, and for RV parks, it's kind of nice. It only makes like about 1,000 pounds every 24 hours. But for local RV parks, I mean, I have thought of approaching them and being like, "Hey, can I plug this into some like power and water because it's all it needs?" And then you can sell and process right on demand.
Well, and then you have another amenity, especially like for people that don't want to fill their water tank, or if they
Right.
if they're boondocking or something.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The problem is we have to fill it in like 5-gallon quantities. But we have a guy in our mountain town and he drives by and he just has like, he's rigged this little like hose thing that he hooks up to his bottle and he puts it 5 gallons at a time into his
So
Hmm.
if you don't use up the whole circulation of ice, is there like a little metal bar that comes up so it doesn't make more?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
It's very technologically advanced. There's a whole app. We can control and shut off the ice maker remotely. There's
I mean, I'm thinking like in the fridge, you got that little bar
Yeah.
that comes up when it's too full.
Yeah, they do. They have sensors and levelers, and they have like the whole thing. It's like 6,000 pounds that gets stored, and then it gets pulled forward, grind, crush, bend. It's super clean, which is the crazy thing for like germaphobes,
Mhm.
because the thing it makes it, stores it, bends it, and no human hands touch your ice.
Yeah,
Mhm.
not like the old things where you open the doors and then scoop it out yourself, and
Oh
And
yeah.
everybody's seen that meme of the woman like sitting on the bags of ice. Like everybody has seen that one meme. And it's like, nope, like the ice is really clean. But people like the quantity. So
Yeah.
Well, I was
Interesting.
thinking, I
Like I
mean, it could be an additional amenity, Don.
yeah, for sure. It's something I've never even known that was a thing. So,
oh yeah.
yeah.
I knew it was a
Maybe I
thing,
could
but
do
I wouldn't have ever thought about. I shouldn't have ever thought about it being in like an RV park.
Yeah, they're made by a company called Ice House America. They're made out in Georgia.
Okay, so that
Um,
is the same people that are here in my town. It's called
Ice House America?
But
Yeah,
they're,
Ice
they're
House.
round. They're not square. They're
No.
round here. They're old.
No. Oh, then they might be by the Watermill Company. It might be by the Watermill Company. There's a few in the nation, but ice houses are all squared. But actually, fun fact, Southwest Airlines can't get ice for their flights. That's the craziest thing, is Southwest Airlines couldn't get ice. And so about a year ago, this company started making machines and installing them in every airport that Southwest flies into. So like DIA, which is Southwest hub,
Mhm.
has 4 of these ice houses. That's insane. That's like making 24,000 pounds of ice every 24 hours for Southwest Airlines. Because they got tired of relying on people that couldn't get them ice for their planes. Isn't that, I mean, the airlines.
It's amazing how
have
many
even-
industries it touches, like I guess I hadn't thought about that. I just think about like individual consumption for putting in coolers or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it touches a ton of different industries.
Yeah.
It
Well,
is. It's a
having on a shaved ice stand, I can see a little different because we would get we would have hundreds of blocks delivered every week or twice a week.
Yeah.
I want to create a company. I need an engineer that makes block ice for people. We get calls all the time for block ice, and we don't do block ice.
Well, and people don't want the block ice that's the crap left over that you compress into a block. They want the solid blocks. That's what we needed. That's why we were cutting our own from the solid blocks, not the compressed blocks, because the compressed blocks blow your blades.
have literally seen, and I think once in my lifetime, I saw a block ice vending machine, and I don't know where I've seen it, and I've never seen it again.
Ready
Wow.
Ice was the only place I ever saw them. And so
Yeah.
then Ready Ice was letting us have their freezers to try and freeze our own solid blocks. And it was just it was such a lengthy process.
Yeah, it's a big business. And like I said, it's making a push across the Western states and in colder climates. Like Laramie, Wyoming just got their first ice machine. There's only a few on the western slope of Colorado. There's 2 of us in Colorado Springs, and there's some in the southern. But I would like one in every small town. The problem is my husband doesn't want to drive the entire state of Colorado.
So you just get
I'd
managed.
say blame him for that.
I know. So the problem is it's so vast, Colorado, you could only, you know.
So it sounds
So-
to me like there's a need for a management company to manage ice houses in Colorado, of which you could
There
create.
is. I know, there is. In Texas, they have a lot of people who manage these. And people take about 10% of gross.
Yeah. So you talk to one of them, you have them train your force.
I know, it's very hard, but that's what we do need. Because we have a few of them.
Or even
and
pay one of them to
I-
come up to you to like do it for you. That's what we did to the brewery here in town. They paid somebody money to come here from Austin so that we could have a brewery in Wichita Falls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need to find, like, eventually when I have more. If I could find someone, somebody was like, how many could you put in? Well, if you had the capital, I could put in 10 or 20 of these machines in Colorado Springs. Like if I could get the land and the access and the capital, it's like an untapped market.
Mhm.
It really is. But the problem is each machine, they just raise their price on every machine. When I first looked at them, they were about 125,000. Now they're like 175.
Will the banks loan on them?
They will. So our second one, we ended up getting an SBA loan out of Independent Bank in Texas. And the really interesting thing of our banker is our banker went to bat for us because they loan on them in Texas. And people said, but they're in Colorado. And he said, you can't penalize them because they're in a different state if you loan on them. So
So
our
you
banker,
You could syndicate them.
I don't
You
know
can
how would
syndicate
do it.
anything.
Yeah.
Well, so that's why our
ATM
banker,
machines and other stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
so that's why our banker said, if you do it in Texas, you have to do it in Colorado. And so he got us the SBA loan.
Yeah, so you can get a commercial loan on anything. You just talk to
Yeah.
a commercial banker. You don't. It doesn't have to be SBA or anything. But what I'm saying is, you raise money from investors
Mm-hmm.
to buy the next one and just
Like we do
bypass
with
the-
apartments.
I know, I would love to.
We'll talk. We'll talk. We
I
can
would
figure
love
something out.
Because
'Cause-
my husband could run them. Because I
Yeah.
can use him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't want another job.
No, but this is his full-time job. It's
I
fine.
know, but you don't want another job. You want to get him out of his job. You want to be making
Well,
so much money that it's passive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, eventually.
No, so you got to quit thinking my husband will run him. My husband will run him. No, he won't. He'll be sitting with you on the
Yeah.
beach somewhere drinking pina coladas.
In the long run, yes, that is
No,
my
not in the
goal.
long run. Next year.
Well, I would do it next year. I have to tell you, I would do it next year. The problem was I felt like I had to show people in Colorado the concept.
It was
And then
viable.
once I showed people the concept, I felt like it was Field of Dreams. Like if you bring it and then people are like, oh, this is really freaking cool. I'd be
Yeah.
like, yes, now let's put 10 of them in.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, think about the first Starbucks. People
Yeah.
did. People made their coffee at home. They didn't pay $7 for a glass of coffee at a store.
Mhm.
That's how I felt like these machines were.
Even worse,
Okay, well-
bottled water. Like, why would I want to pay for water?
And
Because
now
your
it's
city
Yeah.
water isn't
Yeah.
safe. They had people coming out telling people their city water wasn't safe. So they
can show
drink
you
somebody
what our
else's city
filters
water in a
look like.
bottle.
I can show you what our filters look like. Our filters after 2 weeks on this machine are disgusting. And that's our city water.
Mm.
So I tell people, and water is, so we're eco-friendly because, people in Colorado are crazy. You don't have to take a
Little- little
plastic
twisty.
bag. I mean, you could vent directly into your cooler without the plastic bag. What is more eco-friendly than that? And the bottles are refillable. So what's more eco-friendly than that?
Mm-hmm. No,
Somebody was
we should
like-
talk about this, Courtney. We should talk about this. We can figure something out to help you out. We can solve the whole land problem, because that's
It's a-
the thing that you got to get figured out first. Is you got to have a place to put them, you
Right.
know. But
That's
but
why
we
that's
can
why I was
fix
thinking
the
a triple
capital
net
problem.
guy. If you can get in with a triple net guy, because you could be in a building.
Yeah.
And if it was
Yeah.
the right price, if you're talking to a triple net person, I mean, they think differently than someone that's a commercial, like a multifamily or
Mhm.
an industrial or a medical plaza. I mean, the triple net people, they just think different. Those are the people that like, they find the CVS buildings, they find buildings for Walgreens, they find buildings for like fast food places.
Right. So what we're looking for, and I know what I'm looking for. Like I drive by and I see areas all the time. And I'm like, oh, damn. We're looking for terrible neighborhoods. So when there's graffiti and crime, that's what I'm looking for. You know, in high traffic areas. I see a ton of places in Colorado Springs. And I'm like, ooh, let me put a machine there. But yeah.
You're not worried about the
that's-
high crime areas?
No, these machines are built like fucking Fort Knox.
You know,
You
I
cannot
almost
get into them.
I also want to say if you find like Cabela's or Bass Pro Shops, one of those places, people with their RVs and campers usually camp in those parking lots overnight.
Mhm.
They'd want to fill up their ice and stuff before they head out on their trips. That might be a good place to check with them in those parking lots.
It's true, but here's the interesting thing about you want to be more residential. So people who use ice and water for their home don't drive out of the area, but people who use it for fishing, camping, and RVing will drive out. They'll be like, oh, I'm going to go pick up 12 bags. So you want to be in, it's weird. You know what I mean? Like you want to catch those people who are just getting it on their way home from work or
Okay.
so
So-
what's really weird is
okay.
my first machine went into West Cliff, Colorado, where there's only 1,200 people and 6,000 in the counties. And our machine up there, I mean, when the sales guy sold me the machine, he told me it would only do 25,000 of sales annually. And I was like, oh, I think we could do a little more than that. And turns out we're up to 50 and I just put in a bigger machine. And I was like, oh, in less than 3 years, I'm double what the sales guy predicted our sales to be there. And I'm greater than the national average in big towns in Texas because I have such a small captive audience. These people are not driving 4,000 feet down and 1 hour away to go to the next town for ice when they're camping up there. They're not doing it. And the thing is, I could probably raise my prices up there, but I refuse to do it to the locals.
Yeah.
I'll just make more money on the volume. I won't screw the locals up there.
Well, you
'Cause
may
in
not have a
the-
choice in the next 6 months.
No, but the
Wow.
problem is, which is why I raised the ice price a little bit, but we kept our water prices the same because, those people just come to the machine and fill up. And the town hasn't raised my water rates.
Yeah,
And
they
so
won't.
I
They
didn't-
won't change them until they have the yearly increase.
Yeah, but I didn't want to screw the people. And my water sales on that machine, we sell $1,500 a month just in water. And that's good winter. Like it keeps me sustained throughout the winter. So I didn't want to screw the locals. I wouldn't screw the locals. I'd screw the people in the city before I'd screw the locals in my small town.
Well, we have run well over time, and
Sorry.
this has been great because I mean, there's so much about this that I just had no idea about, and I
Yeah.
think it's a fantastic, topic to get into.
You always catch me when I'm busy, but I'm off next week. I'm off.
Well, let's.
Do it next.
Yeah, we should. We should get together. So,
I got
but-
sick and then I forgot to contact you. But yeah.
yeah. No, that's cool. We'll get together, and
Okay.
we'll get that going. But yeah, I mean, this has been a cool topic. I really enjoyed it, and so yeah, and Oscar, I was going to ask you because I know your engineering background. They were talking about that block ice thing. You Jimmy rig something with
I
that?
swear.
Very possible.
Yeah.
I know. We need an ice block vending machine.
Yeah,
Or
so,
dry
so Ready Ice literally picks up the crap that breaks off the blocks and compresses it into blocks when they're selling the block ice, and you have to order it special.
I know.
Wow.
And,
That's what
and
I'm-
it didn't work in our machines; it blew our blades. And so that was when we started going in, and we were paying them so much money that they let us come in and cut our own.
Well, thank you guys all for being here. This has been really cool. And it's good to see some familiar faces again that I hadn't seen in a while. So I will get back into those meetups, but I've been doing a little vacationing. So
it does look like I think you got a haircut. Like it's grown out again.
Yeah, well,
if you hadn't got a
yeah,
haircut, it'd be twice that long.
yeah. I need to cut it. The haircut I got was not a good one, and so I'm gonna have to just do it myself or something. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the hair right now. I got to figure that out. But yeah, I mean and I'm growing out the beard again. Just got a little vacation beard going here. So, but no, thank you all for being here, and y'all have a great rest of your week.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah, take
Thanks.
care, guys.
Everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Plan B CRNA podcast. If you haven't already subscribed and reviewed the show, I'd be honored if you took the extra time. It really helps to expand our reach and get the word out about the show. If you're a CRNA who is interested in sharing your story on our podcast, I'd love to have you. Please email me at bobby@oncallinvestments.com for more information. This episode was brought to you by OnCall Capital. They are dedicated to helping providers like you develop passive income and generational wealth through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. Feel free to check out their website at www.oncallinvestments.com and subscribe to their free educational email series. You can find OnCall Capital on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also check out our YouTube page, where you'll find all of the show episodes along with other educational videos. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.